Jeanette.
Hi, Tiffany. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Good.
I'm good. I have an interesting subject here I want to talk to you about. It's something that we both have some experience with, and I think each of our stories are interesting on their own, but we're also still learning about this as well for our own health and well-being. And what we're talking about is fasting today. What is your experience with fasting? What do you know about it? Tell us about that.
I have experience with water fasting. Mine was a 10-day water fast, and I did it for heart health. I was interested in strengthening my heart. I had some things that were kind of causing me some concern, and I knew if I went to the doctor, I would be put on meds. I mean, that would be most likely the solution.
Right.
And that's just not me. And when I did some research, I took kind of a deep dive. When my son was ill, one of the things that we researched was a water fasting clinic. It's called True North Health Center, I think, in California. And it's one of the largest facilities that they do strictly water fasts.
Oh, wow.
And for cancer, for his issue, they actually had seen healing benefits, health benefits for that. They also talked about reversing diabetes, obviously helping with obesity. And one of the other things that they spoke very highly about was heart health. And one of the ways to strengthen the heart, if you felt it was getting weakened by something, was to do a water fast. And in that clinic, they do it under supervision, obviously,
Right.
and with lots of other supportive treatments. And they do it for 40 to in my research, you could even go up to 120 days.
Wow.
And for me, I was being a chicken and didn't think 40 I could survive emotionally. So I just set my sights on a 10-day water fast and found that it improved my heart health. It improved the strength of my heart and appreciated it for that. Yes. So all of my research and dive into it was about that water fast. And initially it was through a book called The Transformational Power of Fasting by Harrod Buhner, and he's an herbalist of all things. But his book was so informative, and not on just a physical level. He had a lot that he wrote about the spiritual aspects and the emotional aspects. And I'm so grateful that that's the way that it was written.
Yeah.
Because going into a fast, we think that we're going to be hungry.
Right.
You don't think you're going to be releasing grief or fear or sadness or other things. You don't realize what all goes into or comes out of a fast. There's so many more layers to it than just physical.
Right.
So I'm super grateful that was the research that I found. That was the information that I had going into it because it really supported those 10 days.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't want to tackle something like that uninformed.
Right.
That's one thing we're going to put that disclaimer out here right now as well, since you mentioned that we are obviously not medical doctors. We're not recommending that you do this or that. We recommend that you educate yourselves if you're interested in something like this for health benefits, whether it's to reset your metabolic system or to lose a few pounds. You need to educate yourself a little bit before you just dive into something like this. So I just thought I'd put that out there.
Definitely. Agreed.
Yeah. So in that 10-day water fast, and I know most people are just going to go, wait, you didn't eat anything for 10 days?
Right. Just water.
Right. Just water. And it's, again, education. You don't dive into something like that without, preparing for it. You don't just wake up on a Monday after you ate junk food and partied all weekend long and think, I'm going to fast for 10 days and just do water. There's a prep to it.
Right.
Correct?
Right. And there's more of a prep that was recommended. because of the circumstances that I was in, I wasn't really able to do all the prep. I did wean myself off of coffee because one of the biggest challenges for people who do a fast is the caffeine headache. You know, if you're used to caffeine and then you go without, you will have a killer headache several of the days that you go without the food. And it kind of is a buzzkill.
Right.
You would much rather eat than, suffer the headache because those caffeine headaches are amazingly powerful. Wow. They're so painful. Sugar, you know, I had a couple months that I kind of kept anticipating doing this and kind of setting my dates up. So I had time to kind of finagle the diet around a little bit to support that time frame as it arrived.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely something that people need to know. It isn't something you can just dive into. And the withdrawal of caffeine and sugar, definitely be conscious of, you know, make a plan like you had a plan in place that I'm going to do this on this day out. You know, your prep was quite a ways.
Right.
Yeah. So you want to get your body ready for it. And because when you go from, even if it's intermittent fasting and you go into that window of not eating, and if you've got a ton of sugar in your system and caffeine and just overall bad food, you will crash.
Right.
And it isn't pretty and it's not good. So yeah, preparation is key for sure.
And people also don't know, this is really interesting to me, and I found this throughout that whole period of time, just you making the decision to fast, whether it be 3-day, 10-day, intermittent or anything, just you making that decision to fast will cause your body to mess with your mind. You know, literally, you will start having fear show up before you even get there. So again, it's really nice to kind of prepare yourself emotionally. I mean, I know a lot of people talk about journaling through the process, especially if you're going to do something a little more intense. The intermittent fasting, you can kind of get away with it a little bit. You can kind of jump into that pretty quickly. But the longer term water fasts are definitely something that you want to have some emotional grounding under, so that when you go into it, there's a little less pressure, and you can also understand when all of a sudden you're having this anxiety attack. You can kind of give yourself some peace of mind while those things start to come up, because they definitely will. And fear, and I mean, full on, that's where your excuses. Some people just think, oh gosh, I'm just a loser. I mean, I can't do this. And really understand that your mind will mess with you to a degree that is so intense, it will sabotage your efforts. So it's not you. It's not you. That's a physiological function. And there's a reason for it. And I want people to really kind of get that so that they don't feel like they're just a complete failure.
Right.
It is not an easy a thing to take lightly.
Right.
It's just not.
No, I agree. Definitely a mindset for sure. And I saw that you had written this awesome quote from Gandhi. I love that. I want to say that. What the eyes are for the outer world, fasts are for the inner.
Absolutely.
In your journey of doing research on fasting, when it comes to religious fasting, because a lot of people, like for me, the only time I ever heard in many years, you know, of my life of fasting was religious fasting. I never had done that, obviously myself. I never had taken part in that, but I had done some research that was talking about how fasting had been around since the 5th century.
Right.
And the religious fasting was to be able to clear the mind and the body to be able to receive messages from God or whatever they were worshiping at that moment. But I love the idea that fasting is good for the brain, good for the gut, good for the body, that it triggers good cell production to fight the bad cells. And there's so much information out there that we're not even going to touch or scratch the surface, talking about what we know ourselves about it. And what we're going to do, we're going to be able to provide information on the books that you and I are familiar with and the information that we found out there to any folks that are interested in exploring fasting. And I believe it's important to, again, be informed to do it the right way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And prepared. Just take the time to prepare yourself.
Right. So you did the 10-day water fast and you haven't had any other experience with fasting? Like intermittent?
Just like, yes. I've definitely done the intermittent. I also used to do a 3-day fast around the full moon and the new moon. So I kept kind of tiptoeing into it,
right?
And did some short ones, but I did the full moon and the new moon for almost 6 months, and that one was really fascinating because the new moon was really hard on the body. I would put it around the moon. So whenever the moon was coming out, and then I would do the day before and the day after, whenever that was happening. And the new moon ones were challenge. I mean, just painful to the body. I would have pains and they would just be harsh. And then you would do the full moon, and the full moon one felt like you were being supported through it. It was the strangest thing. And being women, and moon people anyway, it was just kind of fascinating. But I did that for quite a while as well.
Okay, do tell. So when you say that one is extremely different from the other, why is that, do you think?
I don't know unless there is something about the energies that occur around those time frames.
Yeah.
We're so unconscious to what we truly experience on an energetic level.
Yeah.
I don't know if just having that, like you said, that clear space when you're fasting and there's nothing for your body to do, there's nothing for your mind to occupy itself with. Some of those, I definitely have food issues, food addictions. And without those things going on, I don't know if it's just made a clear space for it.
Right.
But I would feel pain. I would feel hunger. I would feel emotional crisis in the new moon time. And then the full moon 3 days would happen, and it would feel so gentle and so soft somehow. And every single time, it wasn't just, this time it was this way and this time it was something else. Every time. And I thought that was just super interesting. I guess because we are women, I thought that was really weird.
Oh, it is interesting because it's not anything. I've not done any research regarding the moon or anything, what it does to us. I mean, what it does to the world, know, and animals, because, I'm a hunter, so I know about what the moon can do. But for me personally and how that could affect me, that's really interesting.
Yes.
Very much so. So another tidbit, if you're going to fast, make sure you check the moon.
Yes, exactly.
It could affect the severity of your symptoms of withdrawal or whatever. So
it's true. Well, and it also leads to that whole spiritual aspect. You spoke about the religion part, but it also lends to that spiritual aspect that Stephen Harrod Buhner had written about in his book. He talked about the connection that we end up feeling to whatever worship you do, whether it be nature or God or spirit or however you put that, it definitely opens up a relationship during that time that's much more available, clear, intense even. So it does lend itself, maybe that's why the moon had an effect at all. Yeah. I don't know.
That's interesting. And don't you sit back and think, okay, they discovered what fasting can do, because they also did it for health reasons back in the 5th century, because I'd read that too, so I didn't say that previously. How on earth did they figure that out back then?
Yeah.
Seriously, these people were obviously very connected with medicinal type of things. They were, seeking that out to know that those effects were positive and that it did have such a profound effect on your mental, physical state. That blows me away, because the majority of people out there will say, well, if you're starving yourself, how is that beneficial? And that's not healthy, because we're geared to learn from birth. We need to eat 5 times a day, 3 times a day, snacks in between, whatever it is, that is not right. If you look back in our history, ancestral, guys that lived off the land, if you want to call them caveman, whatever you believe in, they were built for famine. Their bodies, they were lean, they were strong, hunter-gatherer mentality. Could be days in between their next meal.
Right.
That's the same body that we have, are built for the in-between, because it turns inward and it utilizes what's in there. And that was fascinating to me, because I'm just like everybody else that was raised to believe that, this is the food pyramid, which all of that is crap, by the way. And there's, 3 squares a day, you got to eat 3 squares a day. And all this stuff that we're raised with is like, no, man, it's not really accurate. And our bodies are built for the in-between, when there is no food and it turns inward. And it's actually healthy if we can clear all the muck out, processed foods, sugar, caffeine, alcohol, whatever it is, and let our bodies turn inward. And the health benefits are amazing.
Yes, definitely. The inflammation,
Yes.
the inflammation change is very quick. Your body changes energy, food, what it's using for energy quickly, which is great. There's a lot of things that shift actually pretty fast. That's why a lot of like Dr. Gary Brecka and different people talk about the 3-day fast, because just the shift in your body using that different form of energy is very beneficial.
Yeah.
And when we're eating all the time, we actually have a place where there's an energy generator or facilitator that we never use.
Right.
And again, could that be a muscle that we could lose over time? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
It's possible.
It's kind of scary to think
Right.
about that. Yeah, most of us end up being sugar burners all the
Right.
time.
Exactly.
And you're just burning through
Carbs.
sugar. Right.
Sugar, yeah.
Yep. So when you feel like I'm famished, your whole body vibrates with the hunger pains that are going on inside. And that's probably because they had some crazy high carb, high processed something for a meal, and they went on a high and then crashed and burned. And because we've all been there, and you're like, my God, I've never been so hungry in all my life. But then, like for me, I haven't even eaten yet today, and I'm not hungry, and I'm clear-minded, and I'm good. I'm good to go. And people would say, oh my God, you haven't eaten. And it's like, it's 5:00 in the afternoon.
Right.
You're going to starve. Actually, I'm not, because my body is utilizing the resources that I have there. And obviously I have enough to sustain myself. I'm late eating today because I didn't plan on, not, but I'm fine. My journey with intermittent fasting just started in October of this year.
Right.
And I had done some research into it. And you talk about who your go-to person for fasting is. My go-to person is Dr. Mindy Pelz. And I discovered her through my podcast journey and thought, man, I'm gonna try this, because I'm like most of us women that have the postmenopausal pounds around the gut. And it didn't help us. We're right on the cusp of the worst few years of our lives. You come through COVID and everybody's holding up and eating comfort food and trying to make yourself feel better. And I was baking and, whatever it takes just to feel normal. And then go through postmenopausal changes and shifts. And then this last year of, a little bit of chaos. And it's crazy to think, I need something, After I discovered podcasting to help me through a difficult time, I discovered Dr. Mindy. I'm not sure why. I wasn't really searching out fasting, but I was frustrated with my own body and where I was going. So I dove deep into it and I started listening to her. And she's written a couple of books, and one of them is Fast Like a Girl. And I literally just ordered it. I haven't gotten it yet because I should have had it by now. But I follow her on her own podcast and then other podcasts and then her website. And so ton of information on from Dr. Mindy. So if you're interested in looking her up, it's Pelz is her last name, Mindy Pelz. Anyway, I chose to start my intermittent fasting journey, and I did it for 7 weeks straight. And then, of course, the holidays were coming and I was traveling, and I thought, I'm going to take a break. But I lost 13 pounds and I was doing the 17-hour window right in there most of the time, which put me into autophagy. And again, we're not scientists and we're not going to try to explain all of this. That's where we can, get you the information if you want. But it literally started, I was utilizing my own resources and I could feel the pounds just coming off of me. And in turn, I was eating healthy. So, because that's the thing too, is you don't want to start this journey and eat your normal stuff. You want to eat good, clean, healthy foods. And if you're a postmenopausal woman, Dr. Mindy really made me realize that I need protein. I need a lot of protein. So if I'm going to break my fast at the 17th hour, I'm going to load up with protein first because that helps me build my muscle and keep my muscle. And you want to strength train. Cardio doesn't do us gals at this age any good. So you need to strength train to keep our muscles because they're, our hormones are depleting because we're at postmenopausal and we're in our 50s. So she really enlightened me a lot on that. Also, one of the things that she really helped me with, and I turned it towards my youngest daughter, was fasting for your hormones for the younger woman in her, get your cycle figured out, get yourself in line if you're having issues with all that. She really has a whole regimen for that as well, which nobody told us this stuff. Nobody still tells us this stuff. When you go to the doctor, they flop out some meds and they send you on your merry way. I would rather do something that I can totally control and that doesn't cost me anything.
Right.
The medical field doesn't tell us anything about what we can do to help with our hormones other than hormone replacement therapy. And I believe there are other ways to do things. And if we can control these highs and lows and ups and downs with diet, that is the direction I personally want to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In your research, Tiffany, did you find information about insomnia as far as on the intermittent fasting? Was that something that would be improved from that perspective as well?
Yes, I have seen many, many benefits in regards to intermittent fasting, of course, and just fasting, the 3-day up from there. And again, it has everything to do with getting all of the muck out of your system and being able to just let your body rest. And I did notice that I've never really had a problem sleeping, thankfully. I mean, I have those random moments where I could go all night and not sleep a wink, and then I'm fine forever and ever. But I did notice that I did sleep more sound. And sadly, when you get to be our age, you still have to get up in the middle of the night. And I'm like, gosh, if I could just sleep 8 hours. And, all the experts will tell you that you need to sleep at least 7 hours to be healthy and have, a good reset in your body. So I did notice that. And then that brings me to you when you were actually doing your fast. I know you weren't really sleeping really well anyway for that, but how did that affect you at night?
Well, it was interesting because during my research, they were talking about during the period of the heightened ketosis, which is like after the third day.
Mm-hmm.
I think from the third day on, you're kind of in a heightened state of that. And during that time, your body actually is in a state similar to sleep. So I found it fascinating after it was all said and done. I wasn't sleeping. I had a donkey who was supposed to be having a baby, and I was sleeping outside, and I was waking up on the hour to check on her.
Yeah.
So I didn't sleep, but I didn't feel like I was missing sleep either. And I don't remember afterward feeling like I had gone 10 days without sleep. And actually, there was almost 2 weeks prior to the fast, I was not sleeping because I jumped the gun and went overboard. And then there was time after the fast where I still wasn't sleeping because she still hadn't had her baby. I did not feel tired, but I think it was because by that time my body had gone into that place where it felt like it was resting all the time.
Yeah.
There was nothing for it to have to do. And they talked about that specifically in the book Stephen did. It's like a rest and detoxification cycle, and it makes your body really focus its attention on the removal of toxins and healing and regenerating any damaged tissue or organs. And I think from that place, it was just kind of resting at all times. I didn't feel like I needed a lot for my mind to do. I didn't feel like I had a lot of chaotic thinking. It just kind of felt like I went into almost a little bit of a robotic kind of movement through life, which could have been circumstantial as much as the fast, but it was of great benefit in the sense that I didn't feel exhausted during
Right.
and I didn't feel exhausted after. It was kind of fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. That impressed me as well doing this. And John, my man, was surprised too that I wasn't tired.
Right.
I felt fresh. I felt good. I felt strong. I just didn't need to go in and eat the normal 3 meals, and I wasn't eating breakfast. And then he's kind of adopted that, because he was with me, and I'm usually the one that makes stuff. So he just because he was right in my world, he dropped I think 10 or 15 pounds himself. I can't remember what it was, but I forced him to weigh, and I said, "Man, you've lost weight. You have lost weight. I know you have." And he's like, "Oh no." He lost it. I think it was 15 pounds and didn't even know it. The clarity that you feel, all I can describe it as, you get the muck out in the toxins, like you mentioned, get the muck out. It's crazy how you can feel. And then, I took a break because you're not supposed to do this like long term, but I really like the way it makes me feel, and I have no problem doing it because as long as I'm eating healthy and my body's reacting well, I'm going to keep doing it. But I took a break before Thanksgiving. I wasn't eating junk, but you've got the holiday stuff, and then Christmas comes, and so I kind of went back on it after Thanksgiving, but not religiously. And then now holidays, and I'm here for a period of time. I have eaten stuff that I wouldn't normally eat, and it's great going down, and it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like crap because it's
you notice
loaded,
the difference.
Yeah,
definitely.
Loaded with sugar, carbs, whatever it is, and it's just like, yeah, big difference. So today I vowed right after Christmas I'm going to get right back on it, and because I like the way it makes me feel. And a lot of Dr. Mindy mentions that if you want to have a good, strong, clear meeting at work, you're doing something that it requires your focus or anything, fast before that deed, because how you can feel lethargic and tired. And we've all been there where your eyes are crossing and you ate something you probably shouldn't have ate. You loaded yourself up with carbs and sugar, and you're sitting there in a meeting or a class, college class, whatever it is, and you're crashing. If you fast prior to these things, if it's a big test, if it's whatever it is, the clarity that it brings you, and just the fact that, your stomach, nothing is going to react because you're clear and there's nothing in there. It's crazy what it does. And you can't describe it to people unless they've done it.
Right.
And then you're like, just try it.
It is a tough concept to swallow from the other side. I can understand that. I know my family, especially my dad. My dad was horrified at what I was doing. He was really of the firm belief that you would just die.
You're just gonna keel
just
over.
Die.
Yeah.
There's no other option to that. Fortunately, I'm still here to prove him wrong.
Yeah. And you're healthy. I mean, you look healthy. You're not walking like a Skeletor walking around, and me neither. I still have weight on me, obviously. I mean, I'm not super skinny by any means, but I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be healthy and, add in some strength training and mix in some collagen and some different, supplements in there as well. And it's education. And I think at this key point in our lives where, you and I are at the same age, and you start seeing the health issues in family members and friends and people passing and things that could have been avoided if somebody would have just taken control of their own lives in the health aspect. I want to be healthy. I want to have a clear mind. I want to be here for my new grandson, and I want to have many more grandbabies and be healthy. And it's important to take control of your own life. Brain health is huge. It's important for overall health to not neglect the brain.
Right.
So many of us do.
In your research, how long did they suggest the intermittent fasting last? I mean, like what kind of windows did they suggest?
I haven't really, if I've read it, I did not retain it.
Okay,
and that's the God's honest truth. I know that I've heard, not Dr. Mindy, I've heard other people that have done research under their particular websites say that it's not a long-term situation that you want to do. And I'm like, I know people that never eat breakfast, and they are not exactly attempting to purposely fast or intermittent fast, but it's just something, it's in a lifestyle that I'm adopting. And it can go a 12-hour window. It can be a 18-hour window. Right now I'm way overboard, but it's fine. But I haven't seen any definitive timelines, probably because I wasn't looking, I guess. I just didn't care. But I do know that they call it intermittent for the fact that it's you got your window. And I've thought maybe that intermittent is a two-sided word. Intermittent meaning not long-term, but also intermittent because you have a gap of time in your window that you eat and the window you don't.
Yeah, because I didn't look into it further with this one, but I know Dr. Panda talks about, time-restricted feeding.
Yeah.
And that's what he calls it. And yeah, it makes me wonder if it is something you can do long-term. I'll have to do more research on that.
Yeah, me too.
Sure.
And I did about little over 7 weeks total. And the results were amazing. And I'm not trying to lose more weight. It's not about that. It's just adopting a healthier lifestyle. And you and I were talking earlier that I had some stomach issue yesterday that kind of knocked me backwards. And that's a chronic ailment that I've had to deal with my whole life. And I didn't have one episode when I was, intermittent fasting. So that just proves to me that whatever I'm ingesting, and that's why I started this all over again today, my first day back, because it was not good. It was painful and horrible. And all I could think about was, what did I just take into my body that I knew better, that I shouldn't have done? And my body reacted and rebelled. And so it's interesting, but I'm going to probably utilize this for the rest of my life. And honestly, because of all the research I've done, again, disclaimer, we're not doctors, but if knowing that the cell regeneration, then the metabolic reset that happens during fasting, knowing that now, if I was to be told that I had some really bad illness, I would fast. I would do it in a heartbeat. I'm telling you, I would rather do that than take in harsh chemicals or hardcore pain meds or any meds. If I could reset and let my body do what it's built to do, to regenerate itself, I'm in.
Right.
All in.
That reminds me of when my son was ill and one of his nurses, she found out that I had been fasting and she found out why. And she said that her sister, so this is just an example, her sister had heard the same thing. She went to the doctor. She was a diabetic. She had been for years. She went to the doctor, found out that first of all, she had been a diabetic and had heart problems. And then she went to the doctor at one point and found out she had cancer, and they said it was stage 4. And she heard about the long-term fasting. Like I said, in research, they say you can go long periods of time, 120 days. Yeah. For even a thin body type, you can do 40 and not flinch, which I didn't even attempt, but I'm just saying it's out there.
You're a quarter of the way there.
Yes, I know.
What's another 30 days?
That's right. No worries. But she did say that after 90 days, her sister went back to the doctor and the doctor could not recognize her on test form.
Wow.
Because none of her markers matched from before.
Wow.
And she just did 90 days. She did have weight to lose. She did have a particular, some particular body things that she really needed to restructure, and she knew it was dire.
Yeah.
And so she did what a lot of people would say was extreme.
Right.
Although her test results showed that there was such a marked difference that the doctor, comparing them side by side, you couldn't even do because they weren't recognizable to each other.
Isn't that crazy?
It is amazing.
And I've heard other things like that.
Yeah, that just shows what the body can actually do.
Yeah.
It's almost like we just have to get out of the way.
Yeah,
and a fast kind of takes you out of the way, but also gives you a complete control at the same time. So it's really interesting. You feel empowered by it because you're the director of it. It's not something that, you can be told to do, and actually it gets pulled off. A lot of that when you research, I do a lot of scientific paper research, and a lot of the scientific papers are saying, yes, this is a thing, but on every single one of them, they have to do the disclaimer. We aren't doing this in controlled environment.
Yeah.
Why? I do not know. The True Health or the True North Health Center has research, but it's not really widely spread out.
Right.
Although you'll find doctors and scientific papers that have been published, but they all kind of have to do that disclaimer of, but it wasn't a controlled environment.
Oh, yeah.
We can't for sure say.
That's a CYA.
But
CYA.
Yeah. But this is a documented case of someone who did some drastic physical changes through fasting.
Right. And again, my opinion, my thoughts, if I was faced with, you're going to have to put all these harsh chemicals in your body for weeks and weeks and weeks, that can kill everything good.
Yeah.
Or you can try this that you have full control over, and it is on your time and your choice, and it doesn't cost a thing, and there will be health benefits from it no matter what you do. It may not be the cure-all, but it'll help something which can actually have a snowball effect in your body. I'm going to try the less crazy, harsh thing. And
even though it means more responsibility on your part.
Yeah,
I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that's fascinating. And again, we're not trying to tell people what to do. This is giving people options, and the information is out there.
Absolutely.
And there's a ton
and just
of
our personal experiences.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. We both have experience in it. And I love also, if you want to do a long-term fast or short-term fast, the intermittent is great, but I'm not opposed to a long-term. Like I said, if I needed to do something to reset, I'm down. And I highly recommend you guys, if you're interested, go and do some research on the different types of fasting and what they can do. And we could go into this and be on here for 2 hours talking about it, and we obviously can't do that. So we will definitely link information to this podcast, and we are working on getting a blog started that we're going to start attaching a lot of information to as well.
For those who want to take a deeper dive into some of these subjects, we do have a lot more material that's already compiled.
Absolutely.
To share, for sure. Be sure to follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform.
And don't forget to activate notifications so you do not miss out on any upcoming episodes.
Like, follow, and share on Instagram and Facebook.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Mahogany and Willow.
Because there's always something important to talk about.